Inuvik settlement area. Our community is home to the Gwich'in, the Inuvik, Métis, other Indigenous people from throughout Canada, and also other people from throughout Canada and the world, and all of this makes Inuvik a great place to live. Welcome to the committee of the whole meeting. And on Wednesday, we will adopt the agenda, but any changes needed for the agenda? Nothing mentioned. Declaration of conflict of interest or pecuniary interest with any of the agenda items. Declared delegations, presentations, and petitions. And this is what we're doing for it with the directors.
Wasn't a director, so I supplemented her. So, no, but she's going to do it on Wednesday.
Okay. 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 Public question period. We're good on the public questions. As I can see. Okay. Adoption of the minutes, any changes needed in the March 9th to the 11th council minutes? Nothing. And on the action items, Cindy, do you want to update us on the action items?
Most of the action items that are remaining on that list are dependent on the community plan. So until we hear from that, we will not have anything else to report.
Okay. So we're waiting on the minister for his approval, and the community plan zoning bylaw comes back to us, and then we give a third reading, and then we'll move forward on that. Item 8.1, new business. It's request for council decision 2026-033 proclamation World Press Freedom Day. This was sent in by email to me. It's a international movement, basically acknowledging that the media, the press, have some level of freedom. And so that's what this is about. I think what we're seeing in the world today, where media is being told what to say and when to say it, that there's a movement pushing back on that, that governments shouldn't be controlling that. So that's what that is. Any questions on that? Pretty straightforward. And there's a number of municipal governments across Canada that have made the proclamation. All right, we don't have any bylaws, and so that puts us straight into departmental reports. And the first one, we don't have a director for.
It's en route to Young, so victim services will not have.
Well, protective services will not happen. And I guess the next one is Charlotte. Floor is yours.
Yeah. Yeah. All right. So the team went to Vancouver late February and just came back today from the Calgary Outdoor Adventure Show. They met more than 500 people at the booth, and we also got time to present on stage. Basically how to get to Inuvik and all the way to the Arctic Ocean. Lots of people. We were the most crowded event, like on stage, like the presentation, and there were like more than 40 people attending and asking a lot of questions, and went back to the booth after to ask more questions. A big thank you to Amanda, as well as Judith, Ines, and Bambi Amos for representing the town these two events. We're currently working at the Tourism Week, which is going to be April 20th to the 24th. What we have so far is we're partnering or working with the library to present different books promoting the town, the Beaufort Delta, as well as several videos for promoting the tourism operators of Inuvik, which they're not that many. So we're hoping we get a lot of business this summer. As well as we're hoping to do an Arctic market on the Saturday on the 24th, as well as a taste of Inuvik. We sent in a request for donation to ICC for country food. So we'll see what happens. And then Arctic Development Expo, just a little update on what's going on. So far, we got 100 attendees registered. All council members have been registered, so you'll get an update. You'll get your pass soon. So far, we have 17 exhibitors with multiple booths for some of them, and 10 sponsors so far confirmed, with $19,000 and $30,000 in kind, mostly Canadian North, with 20 tickets.
Just on the Arctic Development Expo, according to the one email we received today,
Yeah.
all of the hotels are full.
They're already full. I'm getting a lot of requests for hotel rooms now because everybody's contacting hotels and there is no more rooms. I have booked several rooms that I'm giving away when it's asked for. So yeah, I have some rooms on my side. Projects. So Inuvik Guide is completed. The first delivery in Inuvik will be March 26th. And then a little update on the marketing side. Lots of great numbers. Big work done by Emily, our marketing coordinator. She's been boosting the page, Inuvik Tourism page on Facebook. So for example, we have just in the matter of a few days, we had 171 new followers, for example, and it's, I don't know if you can read, it's very, very far, but you get, I can't even read it myself, but you get a lot of views on each videos and post. Weirdly enough, the one that has gotten more views, 42,000, was about trucks on the dumpster. So if people like trucks, we'll keep doing truck stuff, but yeah. And then last project is JotForm. This is a cross-departmental project that the marketing department is leading. Basically, right now, the first phase is modernizing the forms that usually you have on paper. Will remain on paper for people that don't have access to a printer or elders or anything like that. But every form will be now using JotForm platform. Will be easier for in the back for us to treat the data. So that's the first phase of it. And JotForm has been used so far for any call outs or tenders, just to get information about people downloading documents, answering tenders, call outs, feedback forms, stuff like that. And now we're going to that phase where all forms like permits applications, business license, the fire department has been using it a lot for now a good year for fire permits and stuff like that. So we're moving towards the entire town of Inuvik using that platform. And that's pretty much it.
Charlotte, can you just expand on what that is? So we have on our website a link that somebody can go to and fill in the form on our website. So anything that would have been a PDF or a handwritten form, all of that information is then on the website. So they they click on the link, they complete the form, and then when they submit, it is rerouted to the appropriate department, and then it is actioned.
Depending on the form, you can have a workflow, meaning, so somebody, of course, will receive the submitted information, and then you can have a workflow of approval. So it can go first to the front desk person that approves it, then it goes to Cindy for approval. So there's that kind of stuff. You can make agreements. For example, I'm using it for sponsorship right now for the Arctic Development Expo, where you have actually a contract and both parties fill in the form. So once they filled out their part, I receive an email and I can fill out my part and then sign it. there's so many options. The main thing for us is all data will be clear, accessible. All our information is harmonized in one platform, and yeah.
And then that information can then go to like an Excel sheet or a database that you can then search. So for instance, business licenses, if it was done that way, somebody submits it, they go onto a database. So if we wanted to know how many businesses we had, we could search and find out those numbers. Or if it was a particular business that we wanted to know, we could search that database and find it. So we're basically circumventing the paper and having it more digital accessible.
Paper, yeah.
Okay.
On that note too, so Arctic Market, we're going that way to a job forum where people can actually select their dates and tables and submit documents like their permits, food establishment permits. So everything is in one Excel sheet instead of getting back and forth emails or phone calls, etc. Everything is just centralized.
Okay, questions, comments from council for Charlotte? Charlotte, do you want to give just a brief overview on the Northern Lights Ultra and how many people were in town and what happened there, or do you want me to?
I just assisted with Arctic Circle certificates, so really, no, I don't know. I made the certificates yesterday. I cannot even remember how many people were there, but there were at least a good 40 participants. Say the list, but yeah, from different countries for sure. We had New Zealand, USA, UK, Poland, Switzerland, Hungary, I believe.
Yeah,
So
Hungary.
yeah, lots of different countries that came all the way up here to do a marathon or a bike race. Unfortunately, the last day got canceled. But still, I believe, I mean, they're coming back 2028. There is also a few people that are coming back that already signed up for 2028. They're also looking for doing a summer marathon of some sort here again. So
yeah, counting all the participants and the staff that were helping facilitate the whole thing, there were probably about 55 people that came and worked it or ran it or biked it. Unfortunately, the weather didn't cooperate, so they had to pull everyone off for safety reasons. But the other great thing is that there was probably close to 8 people from Inuvik that were, including Councilor Parrott, that were running the last leg of the race, which was just a marathon. But there was a number of participants that I was pleasantly surprised how many people there were from Inuvik that participated, and the Ultra 66 said to encourage local participation. There wouldn't be a charge for joining in. So I mean, that was good to see, and hopefully it continues to grow, because they're looking at bringing various groups. They've always brought in the Ultra 66 from Eagle Plains to Tuck, and now if they can do this one, which is not as rigorous and is supported, and then they're hoping to be able to work with somebody to do an adventure race that would be from Inuvik to Tuck, and it would involve probably biking, running, canoeing, kayaking. And so they're gonna come out and scope that out this summer and then see how it fits. But they're quite excited because in this whole worldwide adventure racing, there's nothing in northern Canada and nothing that gets you to the Arctic Ocean. So the person who's gonna come and scope it out is quite excited. And if it gets onto that level, then there's hundreds of people that come and participate. So it's just adds more to our whole tourist season, and for people putting Inuvik on the map on things.
and kudos to thank you, Trace. Thank you, Trace, for stepping in. in organizing this, but also the maintenance crew, because the tent made it through the snowstorm, and that was a big thing on social media. So
No further questions for Charlotte? Thanks, Charlotte. Danielle. Come and tell us all the great things happening at infrastructure.
Councillors, a quick update from the Department of Infrastructure. Okay, so we'll start with a little bit of good news. We got approved from the federal government for $5.5 million for part of our capital projects, and this will fund the sewage lagoon, the replacement of the water reservoir, and the replacement of the water fill station at the reservoir. So more details will come in terms of an announcement from the federal government, the joint announcement with the town, and then more details will be provided. A little bit of a staff shout out. I think we already mentioned this at the last council meeting. Clavik had problems with their water treatment plant between March 10th and 11th there, prompting a lot of building closures and stuff like that. And we had staff members from Inuvik drive up to Clavik to help them resolve that issue. So we had David and Ben. So they went out there, they scoped the water line, cleaned the accumulated silt, and used our steamer to steam out about 190 feet of pipe. So thanks to David and Ben, Clavik had water by the end of that night, I guess. And that also made the news. That's the screenshot on the right-hand side there. So we have successfully implemented the use of a software for asset management. It's called Azure, and this was in conjunction with Marker. So we have the list of all of our assets on there, and then this helps us to create work orders, corrective maintenance work orders, and stuff like that. So now we're able to track all of this information. I recall 2 budget meetings ago, I think, not the last one, we had one of the questions from council was, can we actually show the cost of the as and when contract? So with this new software we have implemented, that will be easy for us to track. So this was just a sample tracking that we did from January, how many work orders we had, and then of course in February we had about 20, and then in March slightly over 10. And apart from that, we can actually also track them per building. So this is showing each building and how much work order we've had so far this year. I think to me, the most surprising one there is the Welcome Center, because last year we spent next to nothing on the Welcome Center, but this year they've had quite a number of plumbing issues, and we've had Rockies plumbing out there quite a number of times. So, but in terms of the highest work order so far, it's this building, the administration building, followed by the Welcome Center, and then all the way to the next new building and the steam room. So yeah, the new software helps us to track all of this stuff. We can put the work orders in, it helps us to manage that with our contractors, and just makes life a little bit easy for the maintenance staff as well. And still on the software, and we're also able to track how many days or how long it takes us to respond. So for instance, in February, 48% of the work orders were resolved in under 24 hours. And then 61.9% of that was resolved in 48 hours. And in March, we had about 55% of the work orders that were generated resolved under 24 hours, and 82% of that resolved under 48. So in terms of capital projects, the solar farm, we had the contractor in town last week. The aim was to try to energize the solar panels to get us going in terms of producing solar, but in terms of producing energy, sorry. But unfortunately, he did encounter a couple of issues, and the main one that prevented us from actually going live was they couldn't monitor the system. The modules they had to monitor the system was faulty. So they have to come back and try to resolve that. But in the meantime, we we're ready for commissioning. The communication system was also commissioned. We attempted to get the snow off the panels. They thought it was just going to be a one-day job, but unfortunately that didn't work. That didn't pan out. We used up all the roof shovel from Hawks, and then everything got broken, and they had no more. So we had no more to continue the work with, and so we ordered a couple more, and hopefully either before they get here, the snow melts away, or they get here and we get going in terms of clearing all the snow off. But once operational, obviously, that's anticipated to reduce the Midnight Sun complex carbon footprint by about 360 tons of CO2 equivalent annually. So, but hopefully, we hope we can get this going here in the near future, while we wait for the battery system to arrive in town. Dust abatement, we already have the calcium chloride pallets already delivered, and they're now stored at King Road. So once the season comes around, we'll have this placed on the road by the contractor, and to prevent dust from around town. Welcome center screen. So we're working on putting shades, blinds, I guess, on one side of the welcome center, and that work commenced this week. The contractor already has all the posts installed. We have also prepaid for the blinds, so we're just waiting for those to be delivered, and then the installation can be complete, and this will help obviously create shade, block the rain, reduce the wind during the Arctic market. Because now I think when there's rain, they all huddle in the middle there to try to avoid the water from the rain getting to them. So hopefully this will prevent that going forward once it's installed. MSC survey monitoring. So in the last presentation, when I presented the last council presentation, I had a question from Councillor Parrott about the monitoring plan for the MSC and where we are at with that. So we've had a couple surveys done. So October 2024, February 2025, July 2025, and then the last one was in November 2025, and I'm still waiting for them to send the drawings, the survey results over. And they were actually in town last week as well. We had the MSC. I saw them setting up the tripods there. So far, with all the readings we have, it's pretty much just tells us what we already know, that the foundation is moving fairly quite a bit. So the aquatic center, so this is the swimming pool, and those are the 3 different times that we're up here taking the readings. One thing I did notice though, looking at the results, was in February, for some reason, all the elevations went down. So the first reading in October, we had the first green line there. Then the orange line is in February. And then in June, it goes back up to almost what it was in October. And right now, the engineers are thinking it has to do with the passive cooling system, the active and passive cooling system we have under the building. But of course, we're seeing all of the visible cracks and stuff on the wall, which we are currently working on with our maintenance crew. And in terms of the actual data and the location, I did include that because I know I had that question the last time as well. So that's the area of the pool and the points that we're taking, and that's the raw data on the right that shows the actual numbers that made up the graph I just showed in the previous slide. That's for the aquatic center. This is for the community hall. Similar to the aquatic center, 3 different readings. The elevations went down in February and then went back up again in July. And then, of course, the underground radar picture that was taken off the community hall actually did show a void in the right-hand corner of the hall. And for anybody that's familiar with that space, you see that right-hand corner actually slopes to the right. So that was also obvious. And in the underground radar imaging as well. And these were the points that were taken for that and the raw data for the survey as well. Similar for the coloring ring. The coloring ring actually is the one with the most, in terms of significant movement that was recorded, was actually the coloring ring, in terms of how high it was and how low it went in February and then back up. And just like I said, this was similar in all 3 areas. In February, we had that dip, and then by the time they came back in July, in June, July, it went back right up. And this was also similar in terms of the ground temperatures that were observed at 2 meters below the ground level, we saw pretty much the same thing, the same kind of trend as well. And that's the points at the color ring, and then the raw data on the right. And so going forward, what's in conversation with the engineer, we've seen all of these movements, we've seen what's going on, and we're deciding, so how do we actually know this, in terms of the structural integrity of the building? So right now, the plan is it will include simplified point data that calculates positional differences in the structural elements through time, so that we can actually simplify the data, and this will be basically the structure in terms of the columns, the beams. So we want to actually see what's all this movement, what the effect of all of this movement is on the structural elements of the building, so it can actually let us know in terms of the structural integrity of the building itself. So that's what we're planning for this year and going forward, so that it's a little bit more simplified, and then we can actually make informed decision in terms of the structural integrity of the building. The solid waste site, the fence, the electric fence, the Phoenix fence is in town. They came in yesterday. The project is about 80% complete. Bracket welding started again today. We already have electricity to the CCAN, and the plan is to have this done. Well, the target date we set for ourselves is the 2nd week of April, but we'll then be able to come to town a little bit earlier. There's a high chance by early next week we're potentially ready to electrify the fence. Before, which obviously means we're ahead of the curve in terms of the deadline we had set for ourselves. So right now we're working with one of the local businesses to create warning signs, to have that attached across the entire around the fence, so everybody's aware. Once the fence is energized, that will be installed all around the fence there for warning. And then we're also working with our communications team with that Charlottesville for public education. So the example on the right there is the sticker we're hoping to put on all the blue bins. So if for any reason somebody walks up to their blue bin and it's full, instead of just dropping their garbage by the blue bin, we're trying to encourage them to place a call to us, so we're aware if we need to get our contractor to go do an extra pickup or anything like that, we can get on that, rather than having attractants placed outside the blue bins that will bring the bears into town. A couple more examples of what has already been posted and what she's working on. The schedule, the do's and don'ts, once the fence is electrified, and then of course something about wildlife as well on the right-hand corner there. And of course, this will be posted on the blue bins, like I said, the post office, Facebook, Instagram, and we're going to have campgrounds as well. We're also working on street signs for the edge of town to make sure, and this will include the contact number for the wildlife officer. You see a bear, you spot a bear, call the number. So we're just creating that awareness, because obviously once the fence is electrified, we're hoping the fence works as it should, and the bears wouldn't have access anymore, and we're trying to prevent them from, well, if they come into town, we're trying to make sure we're aware, and so that the officers can also get involved and get them dispatched or taken away from town. Professional development. We had the newest member of the utility crew flew out to Yellowknife March 2nd to take one of his classes for the water treatment plant. And we have all of them have also been enrolled for the confined space training coming up. That's online, so they can easily do that whenever they are available, whenever they have the time to. But yes, just trying to get everybody trained up so they're able to do the work that they've been assigned. What's next? We're still working on the cemetery expansion planning. The civic addressing for Shell Lake Road is advancing. We had community outreach in terms of reaching out to the residents of that area for feedback. We had a couple feedbacks, and we're going to be discussing this at the Public Works Committee meeting, and then probably potentially putting together a response to the comments we got back. We're working with Marka to set up additional custom reporting on the Azure software, so we can better track maintenance done to our assets and cost over specified time periods. And then, like I said earlier, working with one of the local contractors to get signage done for the solid waste site project, so we can have all of that warning outlined there. Thank you very much for your time. Have any questions from council?
Thank you, Daniel. Questions from council, comments? Deputy Mayor Barrow.
Sorry, not so much a question. I guess you preempted a concern I was gonna bring up tonight. Not so much a concern, just a comment. About snow clearing on the solar panels. I didn't fully realize it wasn't fully energized or not active yet, but I know there's a lot of snow that was on them, and just speaking from the experience of my own home usage with the solar panels there, it is definitely worth the time to clear them off come March. Because you do start to get enough sun, especially after the first week, to make it worth your while. As an example, for my own home with the panels, I can offset upwards of 30 to 40% of my monthly usage in March, and then come April in the summer months, it's almost pretty much 100%. So I was gonna bring that up to probably clear those panels off, but I understand the system wasn't even on yet.
No, it's not.
Yeah, so it was less of a thing, but I think that's something we should definitely work into plans, is how to keep that clear at this time of year. And it's gonna vary from year to year. There was a lot of snow on them this year. Could see that from passing by them, but yeah, just gonna make a comment. It's worth the time to clear them off.
Yeah, no, for sure. It's gonna become an O&M activity once the project is fully handed over to us. So, and that's something we're already discussing as a team, trying to figure out the best solution. We've had great ideas, even from the SAU as well, in terms of how we can potentially get the snow off. But yes, it's something we're already talking about, and hopefully we'll be able to implement it by next year once this is actually live and we're using it to produce power.
And just one quick other aside, didn't quite catch it, but we did have like a meeting of all the partners around the landfill fencing issue, and have developed that little working group to work on communication. So kudos to Amelia and Hannah, who've done a great job coming up with a few draft things. In our department, may be able to provide a bunch of kind of bear awareness material soon. I reached out to our communications team within your department, and hopefully we can get you guys something soon to help develop some of those tools and talk about some of the ideas that we came up with at the meeting to get the awareness up and promote that wildlife emergency number.
Any further, Councilor Fair?
I just wanted to express my appreciation for the update related to the permafrost and building monitoring for the Midnight Sun Complex. I would have assumed that you would have received from that survey from November. But so what I just mean is, when you do receive it, it would be welcomed to have another update. We know there continues to be a lot of movement associated with the building, and I think the more bird's eye view perspective for monitoring of how the building itself is moving, not just ground temperatures and permafrost, is an excellent idea. So hopefully you'll be able to come back with an update once you have more information.
Sure.
Any further questions, comments for Daniel? Like most of years, this summer is going to be incredibly busy for Daniel's department, so he'll be a very busy man. Great. What's like faces up next? Oh, wow.
It's somehow frozen on Charlotte. Well, let me share. Someone else's. Work.
Thank you, Jenna. This is the monthly Parks and Recreation update. So to start off with our KPIs like usual, I wanted to highlight some more of the library statistics here a little bit deeper this time around. So now that we've had a couple of months in the year to collect data, we're able to compare month over month. And so I think it gives us a pretty interesting picture of how the different facilities are used and what people are utilizing in them. So if we start on the left, the library users by age graph, we can see in February that we had a drop in our new registrations. So we went from 12 down to 4, but we had a large spike in total adults that were visiting the library. Part of this, I think, is due to the increased use of the Vicky Billingsley community room. We see more people coming for meetings and stuff. It doesn't account for the entire spike, but it contributes to it a little bit. There's also been some additional adult programming put on by Renee and her team, as well as the weather starts to get warmer and people are more out and about. We've seen more of those spontaneous type drop-ins, people coming to visit, hang out, as well as check out materials and utilize some of the other amenities within the library. We can see in February, we had a small rise in teens, and that is solely attributed to just larger participation in some of the teen programming and things that we'll highlight a couple slides down. And then there was a small reduction in the kids/youth category, and kind of the opposite of what we're looking at with the teens. We just had some lower participation with some of the programmings. Given the age demographic that a lot of those programs target, there is a large number of things going on in the community. And so we find that different weeks, people are sometimes attending different programs, which is perfectly fine. We just want them to have the opportunity to do something. So moving over to the graph on the right, this is a breakdown that Renee does a fantastic job of collecting and providing every month. And I wanted to take the time to highlight it a little bit more. So it shows how our patrons are utilizing the library when they visit. So it's broken down on the left side there. Those are the computer hours. So those are the total number of hours that the computers in the library are utilized. And so we can see that there was a little bit of a spike this month coming up for the total hours as well as the computer users. So we often see people sitting at the computer for multiple hours at a time, whether that be for leisure purposes, or sometimes it's more career oriented. It can be job searching, resume building, that type of thing. Moving over, we can see our items checked out of the library went down a little bit this month. And there's a lot of factors that can contribute to that. You know, people are getting bigger books. Sometimes it takes them longer to read. People fall off. So I don't know that it's anything to be concerned about. I don't think people are utilizing the library any less. They're just keeping their materials a little bit longer this month. Moving over to the items in-house. So these are things people check out in the library, or not check out, I guess, excuse me, utilize within the library and don't take home. And so it's very promising to see that that's come up a decent amount in the last month. So people are hanging out in the library, they're utilizing the resources while they're there. And then it pales in comparison a little bit to the rest of the stats just because they're such large numbers. But we actually saw a 3 times increase in the Vicky Billingsley community room use this month. So we went up to 7 total bookings, up from 2. And that's a fantastic space that we like to highlight as much as possible because we see so many bookings over at the MSC. Sometimes people's preferred time and or location isn't available with us. And so we oftentimes do try to direct them to the use of the community room at the library. That is one that also doesn't have a cost for nonprofit groups within the community. So if any of the user groups, sports groups, things like that are looking to find a space to host a annual general meeting or anything like that, the community room is an excellent space if we don't have room over at the MSC, or if we just wanted to change the scenery. Moving over to the MSC, again, now that we've passed a couple months throughout the year, we're able to forecast things side by side. So the graph on the left is our fitness center revenue by membership type. And so I like to break it out just to see how long people are signing up with us at the gym. So the very first orange line is our January numbers. We can see probably the effect of some New Year's resolutions and things like that. People were opting for the longer term memberships, hit by that wave of motivation with the 3-month and obviously our annual and our large corporate. Moving into February, we saw a drop in almost all of those memberships, which is totally understandable as people, get busy and transition into the year. Moving into March, things have settled out. The nice thing about the statistics in March, so January and February, the statistics are for the complete month. Obviously, with us being only March 23rd today, we still have 7 or 8 days to collect statistics. So these stats for March are just as of today about noon. I wanted to try and collect as many as possible. So we can see that in almost every category, we're in our 3 main categories, our month, 3-month, and our weekly. We've almost surpassed our February numbers. We are lacking a little bit on the annual, but I attribute that to the members that do choose the annual membership. They're obviously due for renewal at different times, so we'll capture those at different points throughout the year when people are due. And the large corporate on the end, we haven't sold any of those in the last couple of months, but again, I attribute that to the fact that we only have a few large corporates out there and they're spread out throughout the year, so they come due at different times, so it skews that statistic a little bit. Final graph there on the right is something new, and I kind of wanted to showcase, similar to the library, what spaces people are utilizing in our facility and kind of how often they're booked. So through February, we had 52 what I'm calling unique rentals. So that's if somebody chose to book the community hall and they booked over 3 days, I'm only counting that as one rental. So a lot of these rentals do span over multiple days. But we had 52 unique rentals in February. We can see that 50% of them utilized either the Sundog room or the community lounge, which is surprising because I often think that the hall is one of our busier amenities, but in February that wasn't the case. There was only 11% of rentals that utilized the community hall, and that was a total of 6 unique rentals through the month of February. And then moving over to some of our other areas, the pool saw 4 rentals. That one's always going to be a little bit skewed as there's only so many rental spots available in the pool and they occur on weekends, but I felt it was important to include that as well. The play zone, the treehouse, whatever people's preferred term for it is, saw 10 unique rentals this month. That's down a little bit, but just given the other things that we had going on in the facility, sometimes that area was unavailable. So that was still a large portion of the available rental slots for the play zone. The arena, those were rentals outside of regularly scheduled programming. So those are rentals that, aren't minor hockey, rec hockey, user groups, that type of thing. And we saw another 6 rentals in that area as well. So always promising there. And I think we got all those. Looking back on what we've done over the last couple months, once again, over to the library, Renee and her team over there have worked really diligently and done some really fantastic work over the course of this year and last year, really just retooling their programming, reorganizing the library to make it more inviting. And so I just wanted to take a second and really highlight some of the great things that they've done. Big thing is all of the staff over there, Renee, Bev, Christina, all of the full-timers attended core de-escalation training. This was one that they found for themselves and they decided to pursue it thinking that it would be beneficial to the team. And it seems like it has been so far. What that is, gives them some tools to obviously de-escalate some of the unique situations they deal with at the library and giving them different approaches. From what I've heard on the ground, again, they're finding it very beneficial. And so we think that was a great training for everybody to go and attend. Going off the back of that, they attended NWT literacy training from February 9th to 13th, came back with some great resources from that trip, lots of great ideas and looking to implement some new programs, potentially chase some new funding, again, just with the resources that they found during their time there. More to the program and event side of things with the library. Reading Rascals ran 4 times throughout the month of February. There was 16 participants. I do believe that is each time. So it's a very well attended program, one that we'd like to keep going from now and into the future. Fairly highly recommended from the participants that do attend it. Thursday Book Club was one they asked me to highlight. It was full with 7 participants. And I know that may not necessarily sound like a large number, but when you're trying to get everybody together and take time to talk about the book that you're reading, it's nice to have time to let everybody contribute. So 7 is kind of what they've marked as the full for that. Baby bookworms had 2 participants, and that's one that they're kind of working on getting going. And so there's times that it hasn't run. And so I just wanted to give them their kudos that they got some people out and are starting to build up the participation in that program. So again, just really wanted to recognize Renee and her team and the great work that they're doing over at the library, and supplementing some of the things we're doing at the MSC with some different age categories and some different programming. Back over to the MSC with our program and events. We had our Wings of Empowerment display, and that was something our recreation coordinator, Lori, put together for International Women's Day. And it was a spontaneous use art display where she placed these wings on what used to be one of our bulletin boards at the MSC. And they could come and decorate a feather and write a message and help create the set of wings there at the facility. And when we pulled it all down, when it was all finished, there was 100+ unique feathers within the set of wings there. So it was really cool that we were able to capture so many people as they came into the MSC, and they took that half a second to help us contribute to that. Moving down to the bottom right-hand corner there, not the greatest picture in the world, but you get the gist of it. We held kind of our final glow skate of the season on March 6th. That's one that's always super popular and fairly easy to put together on our end, but the kids always love it. And we wanted to kind of do something, as we got closer to the end of the arena season. So that was super well attended, and something obviously we're going to carry on to into the future. As most of you know, we had the 2026 Witchin Cup this weekend. Absolutely fantastic event. IMHA and GTC were fantastic to work with. Great event, lots going on. Facility was busy. We always love to have that, and already looking forward to next year. In the bottom left-hand corner there, another one of Lori's fantastic events is she came up with coffee, pie, and cribbage. And so what this was a program that was held in the pool lobby. It was again, another spontaneous program where people could just show up. They didn't necessarily have to register. They could come and play crib with herself or with a partner, whatever they chose. There was coffee and tea provided, as well as some pies that I'm not sure if Lori made or bought, but they were still popular either way. And so we had 8 participants to that. Lori received some really great feedback that the people that did participate would really prefer a tournament type format. And so I know she has this scheduled a couple times going forward, and I do believe she's going to pivot to more of a tournament style for that, in hopes of kind of bolstering the participation. But also some really great work from Lori. She's got a lot of great programs. She's really coming up with some great things there. And looking forward, just because it wouldn't fit on the other page nicely in any way, that picture there is from a recent aquatic in-service that they did in conjunction with AMS. And so you can't really see them, but most of our aquatics team is hanging out inside the ambulance there, and thought they'd get a good photo. So I wanted to include that just so we had something highlighting our aquatics team. But looking forward into kind of the spring season here, Lori is going to be hosting a team paint night tomorrow, actually. And so she will be utilizing some of our casual front desk members that are interested in getting into some of the programming type events to do that. That's another spontaneous one where there is no registration required. People can come, all supplies are provided, and this will be the first of a few that Lori has planned going forward. After that, we're moving into Jamboree season. So as council's aware, we'll have the Muskrat Jamboree from April 9th to the 13th. We're currently just undergoing prep for that. The Simcoe rep landed in town today to start shutting down the arena infrastructure so we can start getting cleaned up and get the pad ready for that. So Michael and his team have been doing a really great job helping us out with all the events and things, keeping us on schedule that way. As well as mentioned earlier, the Arctic Ultra Marathon and getting the tent to stay up in the wind. So really happy with all the work they're doing on that side. On the Easter weekend, Lori is planning an under 12 Easter carnival. And although it's a carnival, what this is going to be is a bunch of different stations with kind of some DIY activities, crafts, things like that, a few small prizes. So she just wanted to try and get something out there so that there was an option for people to come out in between their meals and get out in the community if that was something that they wanted to do. So really excited to see what she pulls together with that and how it will expand in the years to come. Coffee and Crib on April 8th is just another iteration of the coffee pies and crib. And I don't know if we're dropping the pies or if we're just doing coffee this time, but excited to see if we can get participation up on that a little one. Our indoor walking track that is going to be in the arena dry pad that I mentioned last time has an official start date of April 15th. So our first session will be from 9 a.m. to 12 p.m. That first iteration will have free coffee as well to kind of encourage participation. And if any of the counselors have a spare minute, we'd love to see you down and maybe do a couple laps with you. So one other thing involving the running track just below there, the walk, sip and social, Lori is going to host on April 22nd. And that will be less focused on walking and more focused on the social interaction part. So again, we'll provide free coffee and some snacks and things, encourage people to come out and get to know their neighbor and other people at the event while walking around and kind of just socializing. Last one there, project I'm looking forward to, kind of the last for a little bit here of our renovations and freshening up of some of our areas. We are looking to replace those lockers just outside of the fitness center with something a little more kind of conducive to the fitness area. So lockers are fairly small, and that's feedback we've received a few times. So we've purchased some larger lockers that we will then begin renting out, and some will be day use, but it allows people a little bit more space for some of their gear for the people that travel and don't necessarily always want to bring things in and out. And then we'll be adding a couple of benches. Another thing, comments we've received is just people always need somewhere to sit down as they're putting on their shoes or leaving the gym. And so we're looking to help them out that way by adding some seating. And that is what I have. Does council have any questions?
Thank you, Trace. Questions, comments from council? Councilor Fair?
As always, great update. What will happen with the existing locker users as you do your upgrades? And what will that look like for like a costing system?
Absolutely. So I guess first to the cost system, we're still doing some benchmarking with similar sized communities and then some larger communities in terms of what is going to be economical, not only for us, but for also the users. So we're still finalizing that part. As far as the transition from the current lockers to the new lockers, there's going to be a communication going out shortly that we will be starting this transition, and it will give people ample time to remove their contents from the lockers. In the event that somebody misses that communication or they're out of town, as I know there is a few people that use the lockers that come and go throughout the community, so they may not necessarily catch that. We are going to remove the locks from the lockers if there is. Some of them don't have them. We're going to document which locker the contents came from. We are then going to hang on to the contents, and inevitably when users will come back and say, hey, I was in locker 6. Do you have my things? We absolutely will. And we're going to hang, like I said, we're going to hang on to those until hopefully everything gets picked up, hopefully not having to donate anything or get rid of anything, but there will be ample communication. There will be ample time afterwards for patrons to pick up their belongings. You know, we're not looking to kick anybody out or lose anybody's things. So.
And then I do know that there's a portion of the lockers on the left-hand side that are always set aside for the high school that's associated with the gym program. I don't know if they're actively used right now or not. Will those be then still provided to the high school for the students' use at hopefully no charge?
Yes, absolutely. So right now there is no active gym program currently going through, but if and when they choose to start that program up, those will be some of the ones earmarked for day use. So that obviously, if people want to bring things in, students want to bring things in, then they will be provided at no cost.
Further questions, comments from council? Don't see any. Thanks, Trace. Sounds like lots of new and interesting programs to get people out and get them moving and get them socializing. So kudos to you and Lori, and the staff. Last but not least, we have corporate services. Stephen has a report, and I think you've got 2 pages of tables.
Good evening, everyone. This is the corporate services update. For quantitative updates, I've passed around the capital project report as at March 20th. And not much has been done in terms of capital projects. Out of like 10 million, we have spent just a little over $230,000. And because the period we are in, we are looking towards, a lot of things ramping up when it comes to some. But looking at it one after the other, the report is with us. In case we have any questions, but just looking through all of them, most of them are, just commencing. Investigations going on, and for the leases, we have particular times. Some of them are in April, some of them are in October. So when it comes to that time, we have a standing instruction for them to take the funds from bank accounts. So for capital projects, that's just the highlight we have. For the operating expenses variance report, the report is for 2 months, January and February, as at March 20th. The highlight there, we have a total revenue right now of 669,000, total expense of 2.8 million, mainly comprising of payroll and utilities. From April, we'll start getting our huge funds from market, April to December. So right now, we're just running based on what we currently have on reserve in our bank account. So I want us to look at the other report one after the other, so I could make some explanations. The Excel report. Are you able to bring up the operating budget variance for 2 months ending February?
Where is it?
20?
Where is the report?
Okay, it's not there. Okay, I said this in my. Sorry, I said this in my own. Yeah, but everybody has it, so I'll just go through it based on what you have in your hands. You're not doing it. Sorry about that. We have about 10 notes there. Most of the variances are positive based on just the 2 months involved. We have largely spent less than the budgeted amount. For variance 1, infrastructure, environmental. The first one's a deficit variance. We have less revenue than we anticipated just for the 2 months anyway. And this is due mainly to 1 month's lag in receiving tipping fees documentation. I've spoken with my AR utility staff, so we need to work more on that. We don't get it on time. So there's this 1 month lag. If it's March, that's when we're dealing with January and all of that. So we want to work with the contractor so we can get the information on time, so that our figures can be more accurate. For the second note, there's a surplus in the economic development department in the revenue area, and that's mainly due to the timing difference in the positive variance in Sunrise Festival revenue, adverts on Inuvik guide. Timing difference sense that we anticipated getting some of these funds maybe in March, April. Some of them have come in January, February. So the third one is the deficit, the rentals for parks and recreation. It's kind of because of the variability of the rentals, some of them come in much later. The trend is increasing. January figure is less than February, March, even up till now. March is already higher than February, so we see that growth in the facility rentals compared to the budget figures. For library, no revenue has come in so far. Well, that's usually generated from photocopying services and the room rentals for some of the rooms that are rented out there. Nothing for land. And for fiscal, we have a surplus, positive variance, more from bingo licenses and raffles, getting more from there than we have budgeted for. On the expense side, from note 6, we have a surplus on the second item there, protective services. Most of the surpluses we have on the expense side is mainly because the budgeted expenses have not been, we haven't spent so much, maybe because of the period we're in compared to what we anticipated. For note 7, there are some expenses that have kind of exceeded the budget, but not the annual budget, but just 2 months we're looking at. Snow removal, for example. Aside from that, most other expenses net it off to get a surplus figure. For note 8, we have surplus 2. Solid waste collection and disposal invoices for February are not yet processed. Same thing as in on the revenue side and the expense side. It's the same. If we don't get the documents on time, we're not able to either project the revenue, record the revenue, and also the expense. Then utility operating expenses, note 9. We also have a surplus there, mainly because we haven't spent much, aside from electricity, heating, and chemicals, where we have a little bit over the budget. But we are good in most of the items that fall under utilities operating expenses. For parks and recreation, note 10, most of the budgeted expenses also have not been spent. So overall, if you compare what the variances are, we'll say we have an overall surplus of 438,000 from the operating side. If you look at the capital side, I don't dwell much on that because of the other more detailed report. It just shows that most of the funding have not come in yet. They start coming in from April 1. Just a couple of weeks, a couple of days from now. So that's for the operating report. I can take questions on this one. Still fairly fresh. Just add. Okay. Yeah. The PowerPoint. Just fine. Okay, what we have accomplished. Most of the focus we've had have been towards preparing for the auditors. They came in first week of March and they've gone. The audit is not over. We are still putting schedules together, but our target is to finalize the audit by April, end of April, which is the deadline that we have from MACA. Trying to see how we can make that deadline happen. From what we have accomplished, we've done that. That's done. New service rates have been implemented. Interim property tax billing have been sent out. Property tax arrears list is to be posted within the week. The plan is to post it tomorrow. So we don't have any issues with meeting the March 31st deadline for that. The Board of Revision meeting for property owners with complaints about their rates or their property values will be held on Thursday, actually. So those are ongoing, and what's coming up, finalizing the audit report is one of the things we're working towards. Upload or carried forward unspent capital projects revenues into Maze. Working on finalizing that with the directors. And response to Marcus Q4 comments. Our Q4 reports were sent a while ago. We have their comments now, so we're working on responding to them and aligning that with the audit, the final audit report, because sometimes there are adjustments that are made to our financials. Aside from that, we continue to involve ourselves in training and retraining of our staff. That's all.
Thanks, Stephen. Questions, comments from council on any of the corporate services report? No, that's good, Stephen. I think the two tables kind of explain most of it, so thanks very much.
Thank you.
Item number 11, information items. Do we have anything? I've got to just briefly report the Inuvik Association of Communities AGM in Yellowknife at the end of February. That went very well. I don't know if we've had one meeting since then, but I wasn't here. There was a report back on that, but
Melinda gave.
what's that?
Melinda gave one.
Melinda gave a report. Yeah. And it's always good to see what other councils are doing and have those discussions, but also good to see from a territorial perspective what's happening and hopefully meet groups or organizations that have potential funding. So that's the other thing that I think that's very useful, and hopefully all the councilors have an opportunity to get down there sometime during their term just to see how that took place, how that takes place and what's involved. And we are working for February of 27 to host that here. And so just sent off an email today to the DEA. There's some professional development days where school, hopefully those days will get approved, and then that fits in well with the timing for the annual AGM. So hopefully we'll be able to host that, because we do need the school as well as the community hall to host that. While I was away, also had meetings in Ottawa with various departments, including D&D, and those meetings went very well, and we're following up now on some of those discussions to see what we're able to do as far as projects with D&D, and also met with Infrastructure Canada, and with some of they've got some new funding pots that will be coming out in the new fiscal year starting April 1st. And that was, oh, yeah, I think everyone knows, but just to make sure it's on your calendar and make sure If you are able to attend, D&D will be providing an update to council on April 20th. And likely meeting with some of the other governments in the community, as well as a public session on the evening of the April 21st. So if you are in town, that meeting will be good. The D&D presentations are getting more and more details, so we see what they're planning and how much money they're spending, and also what the time schedule is, which is very important. So that's coming up on the 20th of April. As most of you heard, the president from the college has resigned or retired, and we did discuss the lack of programs offered at the college here at the last Inuvik leadership meeting, and so I'll be drafting up another letter similar to what I sent to Joe Hanley early in the term, encouraging the chair of the board to get something going in Inuvik so that we can get the numbers up, but also students up, but also just so that they're actually offering stuff here that people in the community and the region want. And there were some promises to do that, but we're not seeing much of that is getting any traction. Both ourselves and Fort Smith have the same concern. And I did meet with the mayor of Fort Smith when we were at the NWTAC in order to work together to keep the pressure on the college to get some programs offered in both Inuvik and Fort Smith. So we'll be doing that, and that's pretty much the information items I have. If there's any other information items from councilors? Seeing none, we won't have an in-camera session tonight. We may have one on Wednesday. And with that, motion to adjourn.
Well,
What's that?
I'm 12.
Oh, sorry. Oh, council concerns. Sorry, my list went down. This well, council concerns. Number 12. Deputy Mayor Barely.
Again, not a concern, just a kudos to our protective services and fire department for the effective and efficient response to the fire, which has absolutely nothing to do with it being 2 doors down from my house. Thank you very much for your hard work. It was a nice surprise in the morning when I opened the curtains and saw all the activity outside, totally unaware before that. And I had one other one as a kudos as well. Well, I guess for the information team to get some rumor control out fairly effectively, because there was obviously lots of questions and comments and speculation going on about the cause of the fire, what happened at North Martin and everything else. So I'm glad they did put something out for the public consumption to reassure people that it's not what some people were thinking it was. Thank you.
All right. Thank you, Deputy Mayor. Barely. Any further council concerns or announcements? Seeing none, motion to adjourn.